This is just a video explaining something that fake zero names saw in the teardown of a cheapy Chicom DC PWM LED dimmer. That being a resistor in series with the input for the potential regulator for the operational amplifier and 555 timer in said dimmer. And the reason for that that series resistor on the regulator input is simply to reduce the power dissipated in the regulator for high input-output potential differentials. Like for example this, because this is a 5-volt regulator. In this case, for the USB receptacle in the front of this inverter. At a normal operating potential of 14 volts, say in a photovoltaic system like mine during the day, or a running car or something, running that USB receptacle at the USB maximum standard specification operating current of 500 milliamperes, that would be, there'd be about 9 volts drop across the regulator, meaning 4.5 watts being dissipated by the regulator, not counting losses just from the internal regulator circuitry, even though those are comparatively minimal. Whereas having this, in this case, this, which is I think a 5 watt 10 ohm resistor, most of the drop is in this resistor at 500 milliamperes. That would be equals I times R. That'd be 5 volts across this, and comparatively only 4 volts in the regulator, which is of course also advantageous from the standpoint of regulators which have suboptimal heat sinking. And by suboptimal heat sink I mean a blob of solder on the tab. Yeah, but then again the thing was made in China, and of course there's similar jack right there, like the connections for the board in the first place, but that's just what the resistor does. It's pretty much to reduce the dissipation in the regulator. Now, of course, you also don't want to have too high a value of resistor, or otherwise it'll put the operating potential below the at the regulator below the minimum specified input-output differential potential, and then the regulator won't work properly. But then again, that's just a little design note, or thing that needs to be considered when designing a system like this. Although why they wouldn't bother simply putting in MC34063, or if they wanted to run both this and the microcontroller, which in another weird display is running on a 6-volt regulator, but that's another story, or an LM2576, but I just have one master 5-volt bus for everything. But then again, made in China, what do you expect?